I would like to acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people, traditional custodians of the land on which Curtin University's Bentley campus sits, and pay my respects to the elders both past and present.
The world is filled with stunning architecture, iconic for different reasons, be it for historical, unique form or function, groundbreaking technologies, or for representation of religious and political beliefs. Iconic architecture in Australia, through its design, production and use, strengthens and reflects our cultural identity. The Sydney Opera House promotes Australian culture internationally. Federation Square represents an Australian identity of multiculturalism, and heritage buildings such as the Royal Exhibition Building and Flinders Street Station reflect the colonial past. Architecture is built by design, therefore is never void of meaning, forming symbolic visual markers of identity. Architecture expresses identity by aesthetics, function and use. This architectural identity fosters a connection to place via use of vernacular materials, which embeds meaning personally and nationally. Its production communicates cultural identity, trends, popular ideology, religion and politics specific to the geography. However, with the expanse of technology and the immediate sharing of styles and construction techniques, there is a concern for the formation of a global style rather than a specific local one. The design of iconic architecture has the power to distinguish a place internationally, providing meaning, creating cultural identity. The unification and strength of cultural identity falls on the shoulders of architects. Building and strengthening and promoting cultural value and identity through iconic architecture is of significant importance locally and nationally. Iconic architecture draws international visitors to Australia, generating financial profits. Tourism statistics between 2017 and 18 state that 9.2 million people came to Australia for culture and to sightsee historical and iconic buildings,
spending over $42.3 billion.
Iconic architecture strengthens the economy locally and internationally. Flinders Street Station is a main train station in Melbourne. It is a part of the culture as everyone either passes by it or through it when exiting or entering the city. It is a landmark meeting place. Meeting under the Melbourne clocks is a Melbourne institution. Melbourne has retained its heritage, such as trams and colonial buildings, forming a cultural pride. Flinders Street Station design is a grand Edwardian Baroque building. The red brick and yellow stone facade with a dome copper roof captures an Australian feel to a building based on colonial style. Materials were sourced locally, a common thread to iconic buildings in Australia. The Royal Exhibition Centre is one of 2 Australian buildings listed on the World Heritage List, signifying its universal value. It is one of the most complete surviving sites of the international exhibition movement worldwide. The Royal Exhibition Building staged the largest events in colonial Australia, showcasing technological innovation and increasing international trade. Sclair argues that modern iconic architecture is turning public space into consumer space, and this will only stop when the change in non-capitalist globalisation. However, as we see in the Royal Exhibition Building, Australian architecture has always been designed and used for consumerism, with most architectural growth during the gold rush. The use of the Royal Exhibition Building depicted its design. The cultural significance of the building is reflected in a cruciform plan, reflective of historical churches and European exhibition halls. The building opened in 1880 and is still used today for grand exhibitions constantly. Its use is embedded in the culture of Melbourne, solidifying its identity and its status as an iconic building. The Sydney Opera House is the most iconic, universally identifiable modern Australian architecture. It was accepted into the World Heritage List in 2005, affirming its cultural significance and iconic status. The unique design has captured the attention of the world, drawing international and national tourism. The building reflects Australian culture, a lifestyle surrounded by water in the sun. It is the heart of Australian cultural identity, featured in movies and made of everything from Lego to cake. The construction technique used was an engineering feat and also utilised vernacular materials. The design and use highlight Australian culture, forming a strong, unique visual appearance, of which made it iconic. Visual uniqueness also identifies Federation Square as iconic. It has a facade unlike any other worldwide. It is seamlessly meshed together with Australian textures, embracing multiculturalism. The building blends with its surroundings on the bank of the Yarra and reflects the Australian outback history. It sits opposite to Flinders Street Station, making it easily acceptable by everyone. It has a large piazza area where Melbournians sit to watch live football feeds on the big screen. The actual building is a collection of exhibition and performance spaces. It offers free and paid events, making it a destination for tourists and local residents alike. It too has an unusual construction technique. Although a new addition to Melbourne, it firmly has become iconic, expressing the culture and identity of the city. The language of iconic architecture is a powerful tool in communicating cultural identity. Iconic architecture such as Flinders Street Station Sydney Opera House, Federation Square and the Royal Exhibition Building all uphold the Genesis Loci of Australia. They communicate a collective cultural identity.
The design, use and production of iconic architecture highlights historical and urban contexts, the significance of human impact and representation of culture of the geography and era.